Hey, what is up, my friends? So for the past few weeks, I have been using Webflow, and I have to say, it's awesome. So if you don't know what Webflow is, basically it's a tool that allows you to design and code websites visually. You can actually kind of think of it like a new way to code because instead of writing out the HTML and CSS, you're basically dragging and dropping like divs and images and all the HTML structure, and then you would add classes to that structure and then style it the way you want, just as if you were to do that all by hand, typing it all out. And then once you design the site, from there you can either publish it using Webflow's hosting, which is just a few clicks to get a site up, or you can actually export the HTML, CSS, and all the assets that go along with it. So for the past several years, I've been doing everything myself. I've been designing it myself, and then I would hand code it and then publish it wherever using like GitHub Pages or Media Temple or wherever. And when I would stumble across tools like Webflow, I naively just brushed them off, thinking that like the code quality wasn't great, or that for whatever reason I needed to do it myself in order to make sure that it's good enough. But as I've been using Webflow more and more, I have to say that it is a really fantastic tool. And in this video, I want to give you 5 reasons that I am sold on Webflow. So reason number 1 is focus. So building a website is a big task. There's the design side of things, and then there's the code side of things, and then there's, I would consider like launching and hosting and all that kind of separate from the code. It's pretty much intertwined, but I always viewed it as 3 distinct steps. So building or designing, coding, and launching. You see, when I first started out learning how to code, it was because my goal was to see my ideas and my designs live on the internet. I wanted to share what I was working on and be able to just launch any idea I had. So my goal was to make stuff and ship it. So Webflow basically allows me to do the exact same thing that I was doing before. But instead of designing and coding and launching a site, because I don't have to do all of those steps, and instead I can just design in Sketch and bring it in and recreate it in Webflow, or I can just design right in Webflow itself. Because of that, I can focus on the design side of things and still achieve the same result of having my idea launched without having to worry about like the code or the hosting or any of that sort of thing. And because of the 2/3 of the pie I don't have to do myself, I can put 100% of my focus on where I feel I'm best at in the design. I can really spend time thinking through everything and making sure like the flow is correct and the design is the best it could be. And I'm allowed to do that because I don't have to spend time doing the other stuff. So basically it just allows me to focus. All right, reason number 2 is speed. So this one may just be an issue I had simply because I'm more of a designer than a coder. Like obviously I know both and I can do both, but whenever I would sit down to code a site, it would just take me a good chunk of time simply because regardless of how many sites I coded, I just could not hold everything in my brain. So there was so many times where I just had to stop and look up one thing or another in order to remember how to implement it correctly. And that's not even mentioning the amount of time it took to get my coding environment set up, as well as actually like physically typing everything out. But just last week, I was able to design, code, and launch my new site, watchmepractice.co, in just over an hour. Whereas if I designed and coded it myself by hand, I probably would be looking at either a half day or a full day, if not more, depending on how complex everything was. All right, reason number 3 is quality. So this is where me and Webflow clicked. I had always assumed tools like these that write the code for you just ultimately write garbage code, write spaghetti code that's really messy and ugly to look at. And if I wanted to have it done and done correctly, I had to do everything myself. But luckily, that is not the case with Webflow. Webflow writes very clean and semantic code that honestly is probably written better than if I were to try to do it myself. So you can be sure when you create a site in Webflow that it's going to spit out very semantic code and it's all going to be structured exactly how it should be, which is a big relief because that brings you back to points number 1 and 2, and you can focus on the design without having to think about the code, and you can just do it a whole lot faster. All right, so reason number 4 that I love Webflow is that it is a fantastic tool for prototyping and working with developers. So this is really, really powerful for designers because handing off a actual working prototype of what the site should look like, how everything should interact together, is so much better than handing off a static like sketch file, for example, because you can actually see how everything looks and feels and works. And that allows you to spot any potential issues that you need to fix. And all of this, of course, gets you to the end goal of getting your site launched much quicker. So for example, I work as a designer at Coach with Coach.com if you want to check it out. But over the past few weeks, I've been redesigning the student experience of the Coach platform. And the awesome thing is, even though we aren't going to use the code that Webflow spits out for this, it still allowed me to show them exactly what I think the site should look and feel and flow like. And because I was using Webflow, they actually give you a subdomain you can publish your site on. So while I was working on all these designs, I was actually able to share it with the Coach team, and we were able to collaborate. And I think because of all of that, it just made the end product that much better. All right, so reason number 5 that I am sold on Webflow is because of the animations and interactions. So I, for one, have never ever been great at writing animations and interactions by hand. For example, creating a little header that slides in after you pass a certain point on the page. All of that I would spend time looking through Stack Overflow or on CSS Tricks or searching around to figure out how I could implement that. But Webflow made it super easy to do all that, and I was able to actually do it in just a few clicks. I absolutely love it. All right, and then there's one other reason that I love Webflow, but I didn't add this to the official list because I haven't used it too much, so I don't know the extent of it. But the Webflow CMS, from the little I've used it, it's awesome. So before, I would use WordPress for pretty much any site that I needed dynamic content on, or a content management system, which of course worked great. WordPress is awesome. But for me, creating a site in WordPress and actually setting up MAMP and like all the stuff I needed to actually code a WordPress site, a custom WordPress site, would take me much longer than writing a static site, which already took me a good chunk of time. But using the Webflow CMS, I was able to set up watchmepractice.co with the past live streams and all the dynamic content every time I add a new post in no time at all. It's pretty crazy how quickly I was able to do it. Now, I'm sure there are limitations to it when comparing it to WordPress, obviously, but I have yet to run into any instances where I am stuck and I can't do something. But from the little I've used it, the CMS is super powerful. I think there's gonna be a lot that I can do with it. So yeah, overall, I absolutely love Webflow. I think it is a super powerful tool that is going to allow me to do a lot of awesome stuff. And I say that because instead of spending all the time and effort hand coding stuff and worrying about all the intricacies that go into that, I can actually just let Webflow do the heavy lifting on that, and I can actually put my focus where it needs to be, which is the design and the actual idea and everything. So yeah, Webflow is super awesome. I highly recommend checking it out. I know for me at least, it's going to change a lot of things, I believe. There's a lot of things that I want to do in 2017, and I actually think I might be able to achieve all of them by allowing Webflow to do the heavy lifting. All right, my friends, that is all for this one. If you happen to use Webflow, I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences on it. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of it. But yeah, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.